The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
It is time to host our guests today in the studio. Galt and Taggart and Geostill will be joining me in just a second. We will be talking about the sustainability-linked bond. This is the first of its type in Georgia, especially in heavy industry sector. I welcome you both to the Checkpoint studio, and thank you for taking our questions. So what does sustainability-linked bond mean, and what was the role of Galt and Taggart, especially in issuing this bond?
So first of all, I will start with the issuance. This is the issuance of 15 million USD denominated corporate public bonds, which are sustainability linked. So the bonds have a maturity of 2 years, and they pay 9% of coupon semi-annually. I want to say that we, as a Galt and Taggart, acted as a sole placement agents in these transactions, meaning that we assisted the company in the issuance of the bonds as well as the placement of the bonds. And I want to gladly mention that the demand on the bonds from the investor side exceeded the supply pretty much. So we had to sell $15 million bonds while the demand was over $20 million, which indicates the high confidence level from the investor side towards the company and their positive outlook towards the company's development. And I want really to congratulate the company again for this really remarkably successful transaction.
Let me join you there, and I will come back with some more questions. So why was it important for Geostill to issue this bond in the first place, and what are some of the goals that you are basing on this transaction?
Sure. So the first purpose of the bond was to basically access and tap the public markets and the capital markets. And really it was to diversify our capital and financing structure. So this was the first reason. The second is to do with helping to finance and finish some of our sustainable projects which we had planned and which we are currently doing in the company already. For example, we are installing solar panels in the company. We are going to do a direct rolling and emissions efficiency project, emissions reduction project. So combination of all of these we think is, you know, the right time and the right purpose for issuing the sustainability-linked bond.
Can you please talk us a little bit through the process? What did the company have to do in order to tap into the capital markets, as you mentioned?
So for sustainability-linked bond, you have to show that there is, over time, we will be reducing the emissions by the company. And so with a combination of these planned projects, we'll be able to do that over the next coming years. And, you know, it will really be proof that, you know, since the beginning, when we started the company, we have been really committed to having a sustainable business, sustainable company. And this is, you know, really just one more step on that to achieve that objective and to, you know, fulfill our commitment.
Can we please prolong this line that we have started with the company? How do these bonds also raise awareness maybe in the direction of ESG?
So the sustainability-linked bonds are generally kind of new kind of instruments generally on the market, and especially in Georgia. And the main aim of this instrument is to raise awareness towards the social, environmental, and governance components in the modern world. So what this instruments do is that they usually finance the projects or the companies that have a certain ESG targets to achieve over a certain time period. And to take the GeoSteel's case as well, we have set out a framework of the ESG targets that the company has to achieve over a certain time frame. This commitment is pretty firm, as the company has to report on an annual basis of how they are progressing towards these KPIs. So this also enhances the transparency of the reporting standards of the company, also opens more dialogue towards the investors and the company, so they come closer to each other, and they address so sensitive points of environmental and social components that are really crucial, I think, for our sustainable and inclusive future.
So is this the path towards the second tranche then?
Well, we will have a second tranche of another $15 million by the end of the year. We are targeting the issuance. However, this sustainability-linked component is really a responsible step from the company's side towards a responsible responsible production of reducing the emissions and polluting the environment less and less. So this is a really great initiative for the company to take. And I will be very glad, and I think there will be some other companies also following GeoSteel in this initiative. So this really is a very important issue to be raised in today's world, while we are developing so much on the industry side, and we really have to take care of the environmental issues that come along with the industrial development.
Yes, and we've seen how the post-pandemic period has made this even more vulnerable,
yes,
and
yes,
more on
exactly.
the agenda of all the IFIs and of all the financing actors. We would love to hear more from the company
Sure.
itself. What are some of the future plans?
So right now our focus is completing these projects which we have planned, the solar panel, the direct rolling, and the emissions reduction projects, because this right now is the most important. One, it's important for us to fulfill the KPIs that we've promised to our investors, who've put their trust and confidence in subscribing to the bond. And that's also part of the reason why the second tranche is going to be happening towards the end of this year.
Quite soon.
Yeah, and so we are going to use the bond proceeds for finishing these projects and also refinancing some of our existing loans. So this is really where our focus is today.
Yes. How do these examples, role models of such companies help develop capital markets in Georgia? Because this is a big issue today for Georgia. We've seen the new strategies, we've seen new action plans in this direction, but probably investors, companies, businesses are the most important.
I want to gladly mention that I've been working in this sector for over 8 years already, and I can say that in the past 2 or 3 years, the acceleration of the development of the capital market has really increased. And today we worked on like 3 issuances in these past 2 years, and we have a quite heavy pipeline. And I want to thank GeoSteel again for contributing in this part. So what is the main point of development of the capital markets? The main point, I would say, is for the investors to be interested in participation is the liquidity. So in order to create the liquidity on the market, you have to have a great number of supply of the papers and great number of the investors. So the more issuers that are on the market, there is a more potential for development of the market. And on the other side, while we're saying that we had such a great demand from the retail part also in participation with the geosteel bonds, also signifies that there is an increasing demand from the investor side. So this is another contributing point to the liquidity of the capital market, which eventually will lead to the faster development of the capital markets in the future, which I think will come for sure.
So this might be the right time.
Yes.
This time. Okay, and just to summarize our interview, I will give you like 1 to 2 minutes so that you tell our viewers what do you believe is the main message of our conversation today. Please.
Okay. So our message basically is we want to first say thank you to all of the investors who've put their trust and confidence in us, and we will fulfill it and really honor it to the best of our ability. And really what this demonstrates is we were the first company in Georgia to start the steel production and steel making in Georgia. And today, again, we're the first company in Georgia to issue the sustainability-linked bond. So we hope that we will continue, being the first for many more things for many more years. And we hope that we will continue to have the trust and the confidence of Georgia's investors, individual investors and institutional investors for many more years to come.
And I wish you success, of
Thank
course. Please.
I want to again outline the importance of the participation in the bond issuance for the geosteel for geosteel in the capital market, as it really contributes to the development of the capital markets, as I also mentioned. And I also want to emphasize on the sustainability component of these bonds. As a citizen of Georgia, I'm really grateful that the companies are working towards better social, economic, social, environmental, and governance issues to be solved. And on the other hand, I would like to raise an awareness on the investor side towards such instruments as corporate bonds, especially the sustainability-linked bonds that do such a good job, and say that this is a really great way of investing your capital, of course, considering the risks that are associated with the instruments. And I would like more involvement from the companies as well as the investor side in these kind of transactions for the corporate market to develop faster, to become more liquid and more interesting for international players as well in the future.
Thank you for this very business and very useful conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.